Thank you so much. It is great to see so many people in person and to do this in person for the first time in little over 2 years. So thank you. We all made it. You know, it was a horrible couple of years, and hopefully we're most of the way through it. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Yeah, absolutely. We should all celebrate ourselves, right? I mean, it's been awful. I am like so dysfunctional right now. I mean, I had to write down everything. Introduce yourself, which I haven't even done yet. So bear with. We're all in this together. So I am Eric Barnes. I'm the CEO and the actually interim executive editor right now at Daily Memphian. We are, if I'm sure most people know, an online news site here in Memphis. The largest newsroom in Memphis launched about 3.5 years ago, we have people turning out the lights. That's our staff. That's our crack staff turning out the lights accidentally back there. No. It's all going to be fine. There are going to be errors today. There are going to be mistakes, and we're all going to get through it. So thank you. If you're not a subscriber, I hope you will consider becoming one. I hope you tell your friends. I hope you tell your family. So it's been quite a thing for us to get as far as we have in just what seems like much more than 3.5 years. I should have said probably earlier, but what we'll do is bring up each of the speakers. We have 3 today, obviously. They'll sit back down, and we'll do Q&A at the end with all 3 of them. So we'll get through each one. We'll get everybody up here, get the mics on. So if you have questions, we'll do that as long as we can until we get tired of each other. First up, I think I'm not going to do big introductions, and based on the amount of photos that were taken with her before we started today, I think you all know Carmeon. Come on up. Thank you for being here.
Don't fall. Hello, everyone. Hello. Again, my name is Carmeon Hamilton. If you didn't know, it is indeed Carmeon. It's spelled phonetically, Carmeon. And I am a business owner. The name of my business, well, businesses now, are Nubi Interiors and Hamilton Media Incorporated. Oh, yeah. So it sounds really fancy, and I get asked to speak on entrepreneurship and business quite often, and I get a ton of, imposter syndrome, because I am literally just trying to figure my way out through it every day. So today, I wanted to tell my story and give a little encouragement for those of you who are also just trying to figure it out. I'm also super excited to see some businesses that I actually bank with and spend money with, investing in things that I'm speaking with. So Orion, I'm an Orion customer. Yeah. Yeah, and AutoZone just got my money a couple days ago. Yes. Okay, so put that down. I don't know, I brought that up here. So I'm an interior designer. And a lot of you may or may not know, I am now an interior designer on TV. I am a part of the HGTV family. Yes, so, but how did I get there? Because, yeah. Have any of you ever heard of a blizzard line? A blizzard line, maybe. So, okay, imagine snowstorm, you can barely see. Imagine like somebody in a snowsuit, whatever, but they are pulling a line to get in between places because you can't see literally more than 2 feet in front of your face. So a blizzard line. So these lines are lines or ropes connecting special destinations or important destinations for people to get to and from places in like Antarctica where it blizzards like every other day. So thinking about the blizzard line, it is the most accurate visual representation that I can use to describe my journey. So I was a student in elementary school all the way through high school. I made straight A's from kindergarten to 12th grade. I was that kid that did exactly as my parents told me every step of the way. You make good grades, you get a scholarship, you go to a good college, you get a degree, you get a good job that pays a lot of money. And those jobs are doctor, nurse, not necessarily teacher, but teacher. They don't make a lot of money, but they should. But doctor, nurse, teacher, accountant, all of those things. So I graduate from high school. I choose the college that I'm going to, the University of Central Arkansas, in Conway, Arkansas, because they had the most amazing physical therapy program. I went to school to be a physical therapist. Yeah. So actually did that for 2 years, was in the program for 2 years. That straight A's went out the window like real quick. I was an overachiever, had 21 course hours every semester when I got to school, because I was one of those people that was like, I will not be a professional student. I'm gonna get into school and get out of school. So I lost my academic scholarship 2 years in. So to help pay for school, what do? You find some work study, whatever it is. I became an RA, a resident assistant. And you know, you become an RA, you get your own dorm room. It's the first time you get your own space, typically. And that was the first time I decorated a space all on my own with the help of my mom and one of her best friends who was a seamstress. I picked out fabrics, I had custom drapes in my room. My dorm room as an RA was hot pink and zebra themed. But it was fire, I promise. I figured out every way to add special details to make sure my room looked different from everybody else's room. And I had someone who was a fellow RA and still my best friend to this day. She walked in and she said, girl, how'd you come up with this? Like, you should totally check out the interior design department. I was like, what? Excuse me? I didn't know our school had it. I didn't even know interior design was an option for a career, like something you could actually study and then get a job and then make money. So I went to the dean of students for that particular college the next day and immediately changed my major. I graduated a semester early because your girl had done so much work for those first 2 years. I finished school in 3.5 years. But a semester before I finished, one of my senior seminar professors came in to judge our final presentations, and she brought along a friend who was a VP of an interior design department for a healthcare company based in Arkansas. I was the only student in that class that had a final presentation ready to present, and she offered me a job immediately after I finished. And that is how I got my first job in interior design. From that job, which I worked for almost 5 years, I worked in healthcare, designing hospitals and nursing homes and physical therapy clinics. I got to travel to 43 states across the country during that time. I learned the importance of wellness in design, working in healthcare, and then they decided they didn't need an internal design department. So I was let go. I was the last to be let go, though. So I survived. It was funny, though. They wanted me to move when the company moved. I went on my 1-year anniversary vacation, which was also our honeymoon, because we moved 2 days after we got married. And they fired me the day I got back from my honeymoon. So the drama. Okay, so after that, you're like, what do I do? So my husband at the time was like, you do all this stuff, you have this blog, you're always making stuff, you should start your own business. Sure, that sounds good, but what does that even mean? Okay, he's like, you need to go put some flyers out and put them on people's cars. And so I was like, flyers? Excuse me. Yeah, so in theory, I kind of started a business. I got the EIN number and like created my own website. I did all of the work besides like doing the work. I'm like, yeah, like it costs money to make money and I didn't have the money to make money, so I just kept blogging. And for a while, that didn't work out marital-wise. You know, you're not bringing in any money. Yeah, that's a thing. So I was like, nope, don't worry about it. I'll just go get a job. I went into retail and worked in retail as a sales consultant first, and then moved into supply chain and merchandising. I became the lead buyer for one of the best furniture retailers here in the city. They're no longer with us anymore, probably because I don't work for them anymore. But I left that company as the lead buyer and environmental designer. It was Stash Home, if you don't know who it is. And throughout my career with Stash, I learned so much and ultimately got to the point where they asked me to choose between my growing online community. At the time, I also had a nice following on Instagram. I got lots of sponsorship opportunities, and I made sure I did not allow anything to conflict with my full-time job. But they still didn't think I was giving them enough, even though they got 60 hours a week out of me. So I left, and that was the first time I was like, okay, you're a real business owner now. Like, it's time to do what you do for this company, for yourself. And it took a lot of encouragement from lots of people around me, my husband and friends. Everybody seemed to believe in me more than I did because your girl was scared. She was very scared because I remember not making money the first time I decided to be an entrepreneur. But there was something about this last time where I felt like I was ready to give it what it needed. I was ready to give what's supposed to be gave, you know, okay. And in the midst of that, 2 years after leaving my corporate job, no, a year after leaving my 6 months after leaving my corporate job, I got hit up via DMs on Instagram from a producer asking me to be on Design Star. I won Design Star. I won my own show. And here we are today. So the whole point of telling you my journey is, one, I never jumped at a decision that involved me being at the forefront of my journey. I was always just holding on to that blizzard line, just holding on to the line. It was not easy, which the blizzard represents, but I've never made a decision on my own. I've always had things come to me because I've always been that person that's been willing to say yes. Just, sure, I'll try, I guess. But I hold on to that line, and that line is always a journey forward. And on the other line are the people and the community that I've built over the years holding that line because they see something in me that I sometimes don't see in myself. And they're holding that line, making sure that I continue to move forward through that blizzard. So my encouragement to each of you is to just hold on to the line and keep moving forward. Thank you.
Again, and we'll do Q&A, as I said, with everyone after all our speakers have been up. Next up is Vonesha Mitchell. She's Executive Director of Women's Business Center South. Okay, I'm gonna get out.
Thank you. Thank you. Like Eric, I had to remind myself to say my name and all these different various things, so I have lots of notes. But my name is Vonesha Mitchell, and I am the Executive Director of the Women's Business Center South, located in Crosstown Concourse. It serves a 5-state territory for our national host organization, the Women's Business Enterprise Council South. So I want to thank you all for being here today. Thank you to Eric Barnes and his team at the Daily Memphian for the invitation. Thanks to my colleagues, friends, and family in particular. It is a special treat for me to share this afternoon with you all and these two other outstanding women. I mentioned that I am the executive director of our Women's Business Center South. I'm also a woman, a daughter, granddaughter, great-granddaughter, sister, cousin, niece, friend, and most importantly, I am salt and light. So, I was told that during moments like these, it's okay to toot your own horn. Being a somewhat genteel and completely Southern lady, I know quite well bragging is still frowned upon in many places, but being a full-grown woman who's worked quite hard to make a difference in my little corner of the world, I've also been told, if you don't toot your horn, it might not get tooted. So, I get to spend the next few minutes telling you all a bit about my journey and how it led me to work that I get to do with so many amazing women. I mentioned that I'm salt and light, so my Bible readers in the room, this might sound like a familiar concept. There's a Christian directive to be shiny and full of flavor, so that men may see your good work and glorify God in heaven. I'm so thankful perfect was not a part of the deal, but shiny and flavorful we can do. So let's start with a bit of light. I was born into so much love, you all. I want to show you something. So, these images that are loading are really, really sacred and precious to me. I had an accomplished military father, a radiant big sister who now both watch over me from heaven. I have a doctor for a mother. I have, she actually graduated from college for the first of 4 times with me in the womb. I have little siblings who have always inspired me to be the best example I could for them. Now a sister-in-law and 2 nephews as well. Agrarian, entrepreneurial great-grandparents, entrepreneurial grandparents, aunts, uncles, and cousins. These sacred images don't even crack the surface of the love and the light that was constantly poured into me. Uh-oh, y'all. Technology. Okay, so I was also born into a legacy of lady leaders, bursting with flavor and special ingredients that were needed to tear down walls and break through glass ceilings. I mentioned that my mother, who is here with me today, is a doctor. She's also recently retired, and she serves on the advisory board of the Women's Business Center South. My aunt, who might be here, is a minister and an author. My grandmother, who is here, is also, I see her back there, hey. My grandmother, who's also here, owned a store in Byhalia, Mississippi for 15 years during a time when Black people, let alone Black women, did not own much of anything in those parts. So several of my other aunts, my grandmother, even my great-grandmother, were accomplished entrepreneurs as well. They were respected women in their communities, and I know they all faced challenges that many would not have lived through, let alone come out as triumphant as they did. They seasoned the way. They shed light on my journey. My journey. So it has had its fair share of challenges, but I've never been short of a champion. From the very beginning, I knew if I reached out, y'all see me reaching, that someone would be there. I was given the tools for success, like how to dress for success. I'm in my mother's makeup there. I was not told to stand back and be quiet. My father allowed me to be promoted right alongside with him. There we are, taking oaths. And my mother taught me that I could dream dreams made for the cover of magazines. And this is all before I really had dreams of my own, so it inspired me to want to help others make their dreams come true. Now, because my father was in the military, we got to go a lot of different places, again, before I ever thought of what I wanted to be. I was born in Fort Campbell, Kentucky, neighboring Clarksdale, Tennessee, where my mother walked across the Austin Peay University stage to get her first degree with me in the womb. We lived in Memphis briefly before going overseas, which I think was foreshadowing, because I've been in love with Memphis for as long as I can remember, and will be all my life, no matter where I am. We moved to Germany when I was 3, and that's the setting of some of my first memories. Oddly enough, that European country ties Spain as the top European nation for women-owned businesses. Cafes, corner stores, my parents' circle of amazing friends, including dynamic women, were all adding flavor and lending light. My father honorably left military service when I was in middle school, and my childhood dream of living in Memphis came true. I graduated from Germantown High School, started college at UT Chattanooga, then came back to Memphis to finish undergrad and go to grad school. So I heard about an organization in a class at the University of Memphis called Alt Consulting. And to this point, I thought I'd had the original idea of starting a business that helped other people start businesses. Well, it must have been a good idea because they were doing it. So I volunteered, and then they created a job for me 3 times. I also had the opportunity to work for several dynamic women during my tenure there and with amazing women entrepreneurs. I loved that work. I even co-created a youth entrepreneurship program that inspired me to get a degree in teaching. I taught math and science for 4 years at Shelby County Schools, also for and alongside dynamic women. But I was more drawn to economic development. So When I went back to Alt Consulting, which would soon become Communities Unlimited, I worked there for 4 more years, and it exposed me to greater challenges that I wanted to tackle and new muscles I wanted to flex. I went to Memphis Medical District Collaborative, where I was frequently working in spaces that were not only male-dominated, but where there might not be any women in the area with that specialty needed, such as landscape architecture or large-scale commercial development. We were fighting uphill battles to get the few women in some male-dominated spaces an audience with procurement or purchasing gatekeepers at institutions with a lot of money to spend. So, in April of last year, those challenges and a host of other events led me to join the Women's Business Enterprise Council South team to launch the Women's Business Center South in the role of executive director. It has been such an honor to join the ranks of women leading change agent organizations in Memphis. I've had so much salt and light shared with me, I want it to be greater salt and light for those who I saw needing so much more. Our objective is to make room for women in those exclusive spaces that I mentioned before, through means like certification, pathways that WeBank certified businesses like Otika Tech, owned by Alandis Dobbins, could get contracts with St. Jude, the city of Memphis, through technical support, so women business clients like Alcinia's, owned by BJ Chester Tamayo, can buy building that she rented for 23 years, you guys. That's amazing. And she became a landlord, she renovated her space, and she's prepared to launch stronger than ever before, so that Viet Hoa, owned by Monica Pham, could get sizable grants to make it possible to renovate her business and change the face of her neighborhood, so that Smart Charge LLC can get life-changing contracts to have their mobile charging stations in AutoZone Park, FedEx Forum, Crosstown Concourse, and other locations that set them up to contend with some of the largest players in the industry, and so that all those women can grow beyond those accomplishments, and so that women just starting out, like these young ladies at Hutchinson, can hope to get to some of the heights just mentioned. We held a grand opening in August of last year in the middle of a pandemic, where 200 people gathered safely in the very large central atrium of Crosstown Concourse, because they know when women get together spreading salt and light, amazing things happen. Since the launch just 7 months ago, we've had more than 500 women request and engage in support from our center. That's a lot, y'all. Beverly Robertson from the Greater Memphis Chamber was here speaking at this very seminar in 2019, and she shared that until 2018, Memphis ranked as the #3 metro in the country for women-owned businesses. And according to a CNBC ranking using findings from NerdWallet, we're still in the top 10. Even with all the good news and statistics like 40% of businesses in the US are women-owned, according to a 2021 Fundera report, even with all the statistics on how efficient women run businesses and do so much more with so much less, women-founded companies in first-round capital portfolios outperform companies founded by men by 63%. Even with all that, we still receive just 7% of venture capital funds. And when it comes to procurement or women-owned businesses doing business with big business, the numbers are even lower. Women-owned firms get only 5% of federal contract dollars and 1% of corporate contract dollars. There is much salt and light to be spread. If we want to be our best selves, our collective selves, men, women, children, Americans, Russians, Ukrainians, it looks like more equitable seats at the table for everyone. I've been having these chats with my grandmother, who owned the store in Byhalia, and hopefully she'll give y'all some of her nuggets if you get to chat with her. She's amazing. But she shared a few things with me, and some of those were tips like, as human beings, we owe ourselves something. Women are salt and light. So we need to make room and encourage others to make room for women. We can watch Carmeon's show. We can support Nubi Interiors. We can buy product from Hampline beer. So what good is salt if it's lost its flavor, or a lamp hidden under a basket? If we all have an opportunity to shine and share our flavor, what a lovely world it could be.
Our next, last but not least, is Martha Hample, managing partner of Hampline Brewing, which is really the most important thing. You also do something at Archer Malmo or whatever. She let me have a beer before, which is probably why I'm kind of messed up and I'm not doing things well. Actually, I had like a sip, but it's really good. So there will be beer in the back, but she's going to talk about that. Martha. I don't know why I'm pretending to work that.
So you guys are going to get to see all my notes, which apparently my counterparts didn't have you see, so that's embarrassing, but whatever. I'm Martha Hample. I'm SVP Operations at Archer Malmo Advertising, and I'm also a restaurant and bar entrepreneur. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how to navigate your career while making your voice heard. I hope I can make this thing work. All right, so let's talk about my beginning a little. I was largely shaped by growing up in New York City. That may be maybe more assertive than the average gal in Memphis, I don't know. My family's of Jewish descent, and I only bring that up because we're food obsessed. A couple of my family members are out here somewhere, I don't see them, but there they are. Hey guys. You can meet them afterwards at the happy hour. But we're also lovers of the arts and travelers of the world. I had 3 brothers that I grew up with, learned quickly to navigate in a man's world, so 3 brothers and a dad. My father was a creative director on Madison Avenue, as in Mad Men, that whole thing. Yeah, he was. Maternal grandfather owned his own ad agency in Buffalo, New York. And in both of those places that I visited occasionally, there were no women there. It was all white guys. Like we see on TV, right? And of course, I didn't necessarily know that at the time, but I thought, this is a thing I want to do. But I didn't see myself there. But, you know, stuck in my head. Ultimately, my parents split, and my mother called my aunt, who's sitting over there, and said, you know, what do I do? And she said, send your resume to St. Jude. She did cancer research, and she did, and she got hired, because how many women did cancer research in 1978, I think it was? And we're going to come from New York and come to St. Jude. So off to Memphis I went without anybody asking me if I wanted to. So what am I going to do with my life now? So I went to Ridgeway High School, whatever, you know, great. But I was sort of asleep, honestly. I'd come from New York, and I was like, what's happening? But really, I attended Rhodes College. I decided to stay. My mother married a guy from Mississippi and moved. And I thought, this is great. I have friends in Memphis, and I can stay here without the parents here. My dad was still in New York, and go to Rhodes. So it was best of both worlds. I had friends, but no parents sort of looking over me. And, you know, I was interested in social sciences and food, so I thought I'd major in art history without any, you know, understanding about what that meant, and no goal in mind, unfortunately. So I spent a few years, floated around retail, landed in the world of printing and marketing to some degree, and eventually defected to culinary school because, you know, I wasn't happy, I wasn't being creative. Went to culinary school in Vermont, and I thought, you know, I've been in Memphis, I grew up in New York, you know, I got to at least try to go back up east. Of course, my father was in favor of that, and so off I went to Vermont, froze my ass off, and quickly came back. Memphis called me home, actually. Erling Jensen offered me an internship at La Tourelle, which is, yay, Erling. Yeah, no, that was great. I made $6 an hour. But he did. He believed in me, and you know he's in where Iris was now and where Ponta is now, and so that's where I was. But that was my first taste of sort of, besides culinary school, navigating a male world. It was Martha and the guys in a very stressful situation. So advertising redux. I realized pretty quickly that working 60-hour weeks for $6 an hour, hot as hell, cutting myself, burning myself, that wasn't going to work out for me. Working every night, working every weekend. So retreated back to my printing marketing thing, and quickly got recruited by Archer Malmo in 1998. Obviously, I had advertising in my blood. I was working with advertising people, and I was like, how am I going to parlay what I can do into that? And it sort of fell in my lap, honestly, which happens a lot, Hutchison people, but it's about connections, really. And I was hired to work for a male business associate that I knew from my previous job, and within about 6 months, I got promoted over him, which was, that was really a learning moment. And I was a kid, I was in my early 30s, and he was not happy about that. And he ultimately quit, and I sort of get that, that was a diss to his ego or whatever. And then a couple other people on the team quit too, and so I sort of had to, dig down deep and go, okay, how do I be humble? How do I manage these people that are left and do that the right way? So I spent the, let's see, where am I here? Okay, so I started managing that department. I worked my way up to Director of Operations, which is where I am right now. SVP, whatever that means. Titles don't mean a whole lot to me, but I spent 15 years learning to ask for what I wanted, how to take credit for my ideas and my accomplishments, and how to be equally compensated. So there was a moment when I was getting promoted, and I could sort of sense my boss at the time didn't really want to give me a big raise, but hey, can you just create this whole department and manage all these people and figure it out, because it's a mess. I remember calling my dad, and my dad, to his credit, was sort of like, that's not fair. And let me talk you through that. And, because he grew up in the man's world, right, and so, in advertising, and he really helped me get that raise I deserve. And so to you young folks especially, I urge you to find a mentor, whether that be a parent or a friend of a parent, to sort of help you through those moments when you don't feel like you have confidence and you don't know how to ask for what you need. That's so important. And I wanted to point out this particular thing, which is, according to Forbes, in 2021, women still make 82 cents to the dollar that men make, right? And based on how we're going right now, that's not going to change till 2059. Okay, I'm going to be retired, I hope. But you guys won't, right? You young guys won't. So, ask for it. That's my best advice about that. And ask around, ask people in your industry, like, what are they making? Because that's so important. It's so important to walk into that conversation with power and never throw out a number before they do. So entrepreneurial opportunities. Digital revolution was happening. I'm approaching 50 at that time, mid-40s. I want to continue to be challenged, respected, have something of my own. And it became pretty clear that, the principals of Archer Malmo, weren't going to give me a principal role, but they loved me and I was going to stay. And I went and talked to my boss and said, hey, I want something of my own. How can we sort of make that happen? He said, well, we're trying to acquire some companies right now. And this is, several years ago. He said, but we're looking at a printing company. You could be president of that company. Do you want to partner with the principals? And I said, of course I do. And, we went through that and it fell through. And then we looked at a custom memorials company, and I was going to come in and do operations. That fell through. But that started to give me the know-how, the navigation of the deal, all of those things. And then one day he came in and he said, Martha, and I said, yeah. We're like literally in the kitchen getting a coffee. And he's like, I went to a barcade out in Bartlett, and they had a restaurant and games and stuff, and it was so great. I took my son, and we have nothing like that in Midtown. I was like, okay, I'm in. Like, that was my deal. Like, food, bar, I don't want to work in the kitchen. I want to own it. So I was like, yeah, let's do that. And ultimately, he was at Brewery Untapped. He met Taylor Berger and others and sort of, pitched that to them. And they're like, yeah, we're thinking the same thing. And he's like, we can do the branding, Martha can manage it. So again, it semi fell in my lap, but it was also about connections, and it was also about asking for what you want. And that's the point I want to make. And so the opportunity to marry my advertising and branding career with my passion of food and bars and restaurants was born almost, seems like magic, but it was because I spoke about it. And then there was riding the wave of growth of opportunity, which happened. And so once I, started doing Rec Room, that restaurant company, we're going to do Rail Garden and we're going to do Maciel's, we're going to do all these things, but you need some money. So I was investing money, as was my boss, and it's like, well, I don't have that much money. So what do I do about that? Because I wanted to do it. And I went out and recruited my friends who are like, well, how are you getting to do bars and restaurants? I was like, I want to put some money in? They're excited about it. So I assembled a group of 5 other women, or 4 other women. So the 5 of us created an LLC. We invested in Rail Garden. We're the only women investors in Rail Garden. You can imagine. For those of you that have been there, that's a big place. Took a lot of money to put that place together. We had a lot of issues, whatever. So that was, check. And then the liquor store, I think through Epicenter, I got invited to hear a pitch for the liquor store, which is not a liquor store. It's a restaurant on Broad, but it's in an old liquor store building, and they wanted all women investors. So I got invited to that. Yeah, right? I mean, that's great. So good for them. So I went to the pitch. I went back to my LLC partners. I said, this is cool. We got to do this. And, it wasn't a ton of money, but, it's a lot easier to put in $10,000 than, $100,000. So, gathered my group. We decided to do that, and that we did. Then there were the investments that didn't work out. So I don't want to paint a perfect picture because there were a number that didn't. We partnered with Maciel's in hopes of helping them expand. That didn't work. It just didn't gel for whatever reason. Highland X and Rec, we turned that into Highland X and Rec. It was on Highland when Maciel's defected, and then the pandemic was sort of rolling in and it wasn't doing that great. And we ultimately sold that space and equipment to Bell Tower Coffee. And I have a small investment in that, but it didn't turn into anything fabulous, but whatever, there's failures. And again, to the people starting out, I mean, we all know that we learn from the failures, right? And you're gonna have the failures. You are, and realizing that and learning from it and rolling with it is a big part of being successful. Then I got an opportunity to become an operating partner of the restaurant group, which included Laughlin Yard that I wasn't involved in initially. Had to write a big check for that, decided to do it. And the great thing, it was 2 jobs in one, right? I was getting to do marketing, advertising. My boss at Archer Malmo was nice enough to say, yes, do it. You can use the creative resources here at Archer Malmo to do that thing, and off I went. And then there was a pandemic. So yeah, that was, for all of us, so rough, obviously. In the restaurant industry, super tough. I mean, we literally laid off 125 people in 48 hours. So there's tears, and there's, oh my God, who could have anticipated this? So navigating fear, which we all do in our lives, but particularly then, and all the money I've put in and all the passion I've put in. Then the management company, trouble starts because there's no money, and we're trying to get PPP money, and we're trying to get SBA loans, and all the things, and they weren't coming through fast enough. And I decided it was time to sort of get out. I thought, we're going to be in trouble, and I don't have the money to stay in, and I had to sit at that table with a lot of men and say, I can't do this. I'm done. And they agreed. So I navigated out of that management company, not the investments, but out of the management company. But meanwhile, Hampline Brewing was being born. So we had sort of committed to this brewer, an Arkansas guy, who had moved off to Germany and is a fabulous brewer, and came back and wanted to do this thing with Memphis. And he had approached us after going to Laughlin Yard and Rail Garden going, you guys know what you're doing. And so we were committed to him, and one of my partners in the management company and who was freaking out, was like, can you just go help them? Please just go help them. And I said, yes. You know, what else have I got to do? The agency's closed, the restaurants are closed. Yes, I'm going to go help. So I had some passion during the pandemic for that, which honestly, you know, psychologically helped me a lot and got me out of the house and just a few people sitting at the brewery. So off we went. And from those ashes arose Hampline Brewing Company, which I'm so happy about. And like I said, I was just sent in to help out. And it felt a little bit like, oh, you're a woman, go help those guys. You know, I'll be honest. I mean, it did feel that way, but it also felt like an opportunity, right? I had to quit taking it personally and sort of go, hey, this is an opportunity, go do it. And what else did I have to do, right? Everything else was closed. I couldn't go anywhere. Went, helped those guys, and we, the three of us, the brewer, the property owner, and me, you know, the advertising person. So we spent 2020 getting that venture off the ground, naming, branding it, going to market, creating a team. I'm the only woman, but it really gelled together, and I think in large part because we were under duress, right? Like we're all sitting there going, shit, how are we going to, we put all this money in, how are we going to make this happen? And we really got close and really wanted to make it happen. And then, so we've done this for a year, and I'm like, I haven't gotten paid for any of this. So, you know, I kind of said, you know, what about sweat equity, right? So we had a lot of people that put money in. So we had 10 or 12 other investors that put cash in. But I'm like, but we've done all the work. And so we put together, you know, we did a new pro forma that had sweat equity in it. And I had to, you know, sometimes as a woman I tend to defer and I tend to hold back and I don't go say, well, I worked, you know, 60 hours a week and I'm owed this. And I really had to talk to myself. And to one of my partners' credit, he was like, you know, don't hold back. Tell me what you did. You know, I hadn't really been paying attention that much. The hours, tell me the hours. And I did, and he stepped up. So good for him. Finally, we had our grand opening in 2021. I'm proud to say we won Best Brewery at Mosh's Museum of Science and History, formerly Pink Palace. We won Best Brewery Science of Beer 2022. Just won that. My friend John Mulligan's here. Thank you, John, for being here from Mosh. And we won 2 American Advertising Awards for our branding and creative, so that's super exciting. We have 5-star ratings on Google and Facebook. I mean, granted, we don't have a ton of reviews, but, you know, but it's still 5 stars, you know, after a year. I'm like, seriously? That's great. And we're becoming part of the local craft beer scene. We're doing Taste the Rarity at Wiseacre in a couple of weeks. We're going down to Mississippi, doing a couple of brew fests there. We're doing a collaboration with Meddlesome coming up in a few weeks, so that's really exciting. So yeah, going really well there. So what's next? What am I going to do next? What's next in general? God, the world is a brand new place, right? Who the hell knows? But, you know, I am seriously trying to take it a day at a time, take what I've learned from successes and failures, had plenty of both, evolve, and I still look for mentors, you know. I'm 58 years old. I'm still looking for mentors, still looking to learn from people, male, female, black, white, I don't care who they are. If you got something to teach me, please teach me. Don't let gender, don't let age or any perception of you get in your way, right? Take it one day at a time. And God, ask for what you want, ladies. You know, we're not socialized, especially people my age, we were not socialized to do that, right? So ask for what you want. Ask for what you deserve. Talk about your ideas. Believe in them. Speak your mind. You know, all they can say is no, right? Don't forget to connect. That's why these ladies and I are here today, right? We just met each other. So excited about that. So excited about talking to you guys after the fact. Believe that every day is a new opportunity. And if one thing we've learned during the pandemic is we only got today, right? We got war, we got pandemic, we got everything terrible. But yeah, believe in today. Patronize women-owned business and minority business, please. What makes Memphis great is, and other cities, New York, which I've watched turn into a franchise capital of the world, right? You know, that's what makes cities interesting and great and makes people want to come visit and makes us want to stay here. So please support those businesses, whatever they are, if they're local. Check out Hampline Brewing. Shameless promotion of my own business, but we're having our first anniversary party. We waited a little late because it was cold. So 3/26 Saturday, Hampline Brewing, 1 to 10 o'clock. Free food, live music, Memphis music, beer a-flowing. Hope you guys come, as Eric pointed out, and thank you to Eric and Natalie so much. There will be Hampline beers after the show, so come say hi to me, ask me any questions you want, and please have a beer.
Thank you, all of you. Thank you so much. That was great. And it was great to share your stories and your personal journeys and your just professional journeys and so on. And I'm terrified up here, by the way, because I one time was a half inch from falling off the back of the stage at something where I was there. It was not one of our events, so I'm being very paranoid. And I've had half a beer now. It's good. It's good. Thank you, Martha. Get your questions ready. I have thoughts that I wrote down. It is one of the themes, and again, I mentioned we've done seminars back to Daily News before Daily Memphian, and we've done Women in Business, I don't know how many times now. And it is always a theme that all of you touched on about having to be purposeful in beginning to ask for what you want. You all said it better than I will. Ask for what you want. Advocate for yourself, whether that's compensation, that's my idea, that should be my promotion. The impediments to that are, I mean, first and foremost, people who look a lot like me, I'm pretty sure. But talk more maybe about that. I mean, obviously, it's a lot about people who look like me. But is it, you came from different backgrounds in many ways, and you all talked about the importance of your parents, I think. And but is it just, not just, but is it men at an early time, or is it other women? Is it just a whole societal thing? Is it the images you see in media? I mean, talk more about what you are overcoming when everyone has said that. Everyone who's ever been on a panel for us at Women in Business. I'll go to you first with that rambling question.
Okay. So I would say there's not just one source, that can cause you to doubt yourself. Carmeon mentioned imposter syndrome. And most women that I know, including myself, experience that at some point. But I also think there's this unspoken pressure that a woman has to be everything. We talk about it all the time. You're supposed to work hard outside the home and in the home. And, success looks like checking all these boxes. And that's really like self-talk that you have to push down for yourself, So there's always going to be outside sources that are discouraging you or, tell you need to be something different or what you is not enough, but the loudest voice is your voice. So if your voice is saying, I am enough, and you're really listening to your champions and the people that are affirming you and that are pouring into you, it can really help you clear those hurdles because that's where we are right now, White men are still running the world. I say that because he put it out there, right? But you have...
but thank you for letting me be here. I mean, I don't know. I mean, truly. I'm sorry, keep going.
But you have so many, I think, that are much more aware of the problem there, and if we want the best, if white men want the best, it looks like everyone, it looks like all people represented bringing the best of what they have to offer to the table. So champion yourself.
I would like to add, one of the biggest obstacles I believe all of us have to face is the fear of the unknown. And we don't know what we don't know. And that's what we all struggle through, especially as entrepreneurs. But I know mine was, after doing what my parents said for so long, what I realized later is they didn't know what they didn't know. We also don't know what we've never seen. There were no entrepreneurs in my family. I wish I had someone to look to that was very close to me. So me saying I'm gonna be an entrepreneur was another fear that came up from my father leaving that corporate job almost 12 years after graduating from college. But changing my major from physical therapy, something tangible that he knew he could relate a job to and a paycheck to, and then telling him I'm changing my major to interior design, I basically said I'm gonna go major in coloring books. Thank you very much. And I cannot tell you the lecture that I got. Like, I made a B in 10th grade, and I thought that was bad. But that lecture that I got when I told my dad that I was changing my major, you would have thought that I burned the house down. Like, you'll never make any money. You're never going to get a job. That's not a real job. That's not a career. And at the time, like, that put a lot of fear in me. But that was coming from a man that had never seen an interior designer, period, let alone a little black one. So in moving throughout my career, a lot of my fears have been fears of the unknown. I don't know what's on the other side of this decision. I hear people telling me I'm great, that's wonderful and all, but this is all gonna fall back on me if we crash and burn. But like I said, that Blizzard line, you just keep moving forward. You only have yourself to bet on. Keep moving forward.
I'd like to add to that, to your original question, that it is a societal thing, right? I mean, I think we all can't help what has been ingrained in us during our lives, right? I can remember my father, when I told him I was majoring, I actually started majoring in studio art, and he was like, oh, hell no. I'm not paying for college, and you're gonna be an artist. That's not happening. You know, talent or no talent. I'm not so sure that would have been the answer had I been male. And that's part of the reason I changed to art history. Somehow I thought that was going to make him happy. But damn, like, why did I do that? Because it was going to make him happy. I mean, granted, he was writing the check, but I didn't know how to advocate for myself and say, like, this is what I want to do. What the other thing is as women, you know, we aren't taught to advocate for ourselves. I said that earlier, but we really aren't taught to have a goal, speak up, know what we're going to do. I mean, I'm sorry, little boys are taught to do that from the very get-go. We're supposed to get married and have kids, and I'm older than these ladies, but not that anyone necessarily thought I was going to go have kids, but I don't think any of my family, no offense, family that's here, but I don't think anybody was like, Martha's going to have this fantastic career. I don't think that was expected of me, and I didn't have that mentor in my family or without my family making me, with the exception of my mother, who moved here and to do cancer research at a time that women didn't do that. She was about the only one. But I could have used a mentor, and so again, look for that mentor. Look for that person that's going to back you up and tell you can do it.
My daughter's a senior in college, and she's changed majors a couple times, and I blacked out at one point. I'm like, how did I respond every single one of those times? How did I respond every single one? I think I was okay. There's a call I'm going to make when I get out of here. And hey, Kenzie, how are we? Are we good?
Totally love her.
Yeah,
Totally love her.
She's been great. Actually, she wants to go into publishing. I was like, great. It's a great growing profession. It really is.
Be positive.
Questions from the crowd. There've got to be questions, I'm sure. Don't hesitate. If not, you're going to just have to keep putting up with me. Okay. As you get questions, yeah. And speak loudly. And if you want to introduce yourself, you should stand and introduce yourself if you don't mind. Yeah. Thank you. No, I know. Well, but no.
That's what the man did.
People want to hear you.
You walked
Sorry.
into that one.
Can I get another beer?
Whether it's for a flavor or an ad or a room or a space, and you're consulting, what is that line of question or that one answer from the potential client that gets you going, yeah, I gotcha?
I mean, I'll take that for a second.
Go for it.
That's on you then.
I have an
I
answer,
think it's
but yes.
about figuring out what gets them excited.
Yes.
And that's about creating relationship,
Agreed.
right?
Yes.
So it's about inviting them to your space. I've actually hired some architects and interior designers lately, so it's about, and so I'm the client, but also about finding out what gets them excited. Finding out, what's gonna make them feel like they had a voice in the project. I think what happens a lot, at least in advertising, is sometimes the client gets pushed aside and, we know best, we're so creative, we're so, we're so funny, we're so intelligent, and being careful about that. So sort of keeping that equal and letting them have a voice and letting them get excited, and then taking that information and really listening to them and doing what they're asking for, which a lot of creative companies have trouble with. There's egos, right? So making sure that they have a voice.
Okay, I'm ready now. Okay, so I tell people this a lot. Interior design as a profession is more psychology than it is pretty colors and things. Also a little psychiatry. So it is heavily, especially my own business and practice and ethos when it comes to design, especially for a client. And you can kind of see this on the show. You don't see a lot of, well, first watch the show, but you don't see a lot of my interaction with the clients leading up to those designs, but I truly believe I am the interpreter of what you love and what you want to see. I am not here to impose my aesthetic on you. And the things that make us love what we love and like what we like aesthetically, there are psychological things that make up those decisions. So, I don't start with what's your favorite color and what patterns do you love and what trend is really hot for you right now. I don't do any of those things. I really focus on how people feel in the spaces that speak to them. So where are your favorite places to go? What type of vacations are your favorite? Do you love being around water? Do you like being in nature or the woods? Or do you like metropolitan type vacations? So all of these things are indicators for me on what styles they love. Most people that love nature and things aren't necessarily looking for a really clean, sleek room to spend their time in most of the day. So I get into what makes you you. Why do you love the things that you love outside of colors and patterns and fabrics? What books do you like to read? All of those things, and those are little building blocks for me to start to put together synapses, little brain synapses start to form where I can go, okay, I know you love natural tones, and you love natural feeling fabrics, and that begins the process for me. But I also start with function. Like, if it doesn't work, it's not gonna feel good. Who cares what it looks like if it doesn't function? So I'm a left and right brain person, but that's on the client relationship. For me, it's very psychological, and the design comes second.
Do you want to take a spin at that in terms of how you work with, people who want to start businesses or expand businesses? Or?
Yeah, I was actually thinking about that as they were speaking, in particular, some conversations that we have been having at the center recently about where a business may fall along the spectrum, right? If you just have an idea, or if you have been in business for 3 to 5 years, or longer, maybe you need time to succession plan, or you need to scale. And so I think anytime you want to offer your service, your expertise to someone, the best way in is to connect with them, that relationship building. No matter what stage they're at, what service it is you have to provide, it really is essential. And so we've been having some conversations about psychology, and when people are ready for what. If you're not in a financial position to, invest a lot of money in a business, but you have this brilliant idea and you're frustrated because maybe you can't access capital or whatever the hurdle is, then I need to respond in a way that still lets you know you're heard. I want to offer what's going to be beneficial to you, but we're trying to make progress, you know? So I think getting to know people, you know, speaking to people like people, you know, not speaking at people or like I know better or any of that, even if you might, you know, because they have input and value to add about their dream, their idea, their project, whatever it is you're working on. So really listening and making sure that your response reflects your listening, you know, I think is essential, probably in every industry and in any scenario like that.
Yeah, question there.
Candace Ashear-Gray, CG Comms Group, founder and CEO. Martha, Vonesha, Carmeon, you guys are amazing. I came here today as a small business owner, boutique agency. Martha and I might have worked together at Archer Malmo for years and years. But one of the themes that has come out today in all of you all's talks is partnership. And I know when it comes to women, you know, people have this idea that women are catty and they can't work together, but it's clear that all of you all have formed these partnerships that are very important. And I'd like to know, you know, as a small business owner, you know, trying to figure out when to pull someone in, you know, give them a little money, like, you know, how do you guys decide and how have you risen above this perception that women can't work together? So just talk a little bit about partnerships and rising above, you know, the stigmas.
I'll go first. Yes. So I, especially with my background, I'm a creative. Like, I love getting my hands in everything that I do. I have a blog that I've had for almost 12 years now. And, you know, you have to be the photographer and the writer and the editor, and then you build a website. I've built every single website that I've had. I've done all of these things. And it actually took my husband sitting me down one day and was like, look, okay, good job. But, I mean, at some point, don't you think you need to spend your time doing this thing that you're really good at instead of all of these little things that you've been making do, i.e. photography? Everyone say hello to my photographer, Kim Thomas. So the minute I handed over my photography to Kim, to someone who has an eye that I could appreciate, that understands me, that has an eye, does all the editing, I just get the finished product so I can go do everything else that I need to do, my business completely took off. As soon as I hired Kim, and we were friends first, she asked to come take pictures of my house, and I'm like, girl, yes, whatever you want to do. Just come back and take some more pictures of this other stuff that I have to do, and I want to pay you. And as soon as I hired her and turned over that responsibility, something I can do, but it's not my passion, it's not something I'm 100%, woo-woo about, handing that over to someone else whose passion it is, handing things over that you can do, partnering with people that are passionate about those things, you have the capacity to take on the things that are most important to you. And as soon as I handed that over, my Instagram feed instantly looked better, my website looked better, my blog looked better, and then brands started to go, oh, that's pretty, that's cute. It was all pretty and cute before, but the pictures sucked. So now that I have someone on my team that I can go, Kim, we're shooting this, 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 and this, and hand it over to her, I can focus on what I need to focus on. And so relinquishing that responsibility has brought more opportunities for me, so I can even pay Kim even more. Girl, don't you want to just work for me full time? You don't have to go take pictures of all these other people. But it opens doors for you to do what you want to do. And then you get to bring more people along, hire more people that are focused on the things that they're focused on, so you can focus on big picture things. But community and teams, that's the only way to move forward. You have to do it by yourself for a little bit, maybe to get the car moving, but you won't go any faster being the little Flintstone feet by yourself for years and years and years. You're gonna need more feet in that vehicle to keep you moving forward.
To add on to that, I would say I've said it, but it's so much about relationship. Of course, you know that, but it's getting out of your own way, getting out of that sort of social stigma that we as women have about people aren't really listening to us, right? Believe that they're listening to us, believe that what we have to say is smart, is right. Be open to, of course, their feedback, but just really believing in yourself and not backing down, and knowing how to negotiate back, not backing down without, there's stigmas about, well, she's being a bitch, right? But so how to stand up for yourself and negotiate that and be objective and be diplomatic. And I'm sorry to say that as women we have to do that a little more. But I can't, right? Yeah. I can't. Yes, maybe. I can't stress that enough, right? And so it's all about, you brought it up. It's all about that relationship, and you know this too, Candace. But it's about establishing that relationship, and a lot of time, men, women, and otherwise, I think they want to know that you believe in what you're saying. If you show any fear, if you show any hesitation, if you don't show up, you back off, you don't have enough people on your team, you're in trouble.
And I would add to that, I echo everything that they've said. And just in observing so many women businesses that have come into the center, even the way that we're trying to evolve as a center ourselves, it goes back to, I think, sometimes when supporting women-owned businesses, even minority businesses, there's this sense that you have to workshop and you have to learn how to do everything yourself, right? Which is not realistic. When you look at the largest, most successful companies out there, they are the result of partnership. They are the result of allowing other people to bring their expertise and talent to the table. And it doesn't take away from you being an expert, And then I think there's also so much to go around. Sometimes people are hesitant to bring in a partner because of maybe profit sharing, or, how do we decide who's going to get what? And so legal counsel can be definitely a great value add, so everybody's expectations are managed. We understand you're putting in this, you get this, I get this, And so that doesn't have to be the conflict. That's already settled. A lot of issues arise when partners come together and they haven't had that conversation. And then something goes really well and we don't know who, gets what. Or if I need to buy somebody out, what does that look like? But I definitely think partnership is essential to growth, because you just can't do it by yourself. As amazing as you are at what you do and what you offer, it's unrealistic to be amazing at everything. So I think that when someone's also your partner, they tend to be invested in a way that someone maybe that you've hired or contract isn't, right? It's their baby as well. It's like a marriage. Hopefully both parents are just as invested in the outcome of that child, right? So it's essentially the same way, but you have a contract, even in a marriage, right? You understand, theoretically, that two partners are supposed to play, 50-50 role. We want woman-owned businesses, so I don't know if your partner is a male, but 51-49, I'm just saying, put it out there. But I just think that, like we're talking about representation in the world in all things, when there's multiple people contributing their very best, you get something better. You just do.
We're right up at 5 o'clock. We're going to stay, though, and like I said, we got a reception out there. I know many people will want to kind of talk one-on-one, but if they have in their eye that they really need a drink, kind of let them, get back there, because so it's all going to be kind of a group effort here to get back to the food and the drink. And I know you do want to talk to them, and I'm sure they want to talk to you. They all said so. Thank you to our panel. Thank you, all three of you, so much. Thank you all for being here. As I said, we can be outside, so if you want to take a drink outside, take a look. Our next seminars are coming up. The dates are on the back of the program. And thanks for putting up with me.